It's the Pulse of Culture. I'm Don Arleth, and now let's let the festivities begin. And speaking of which, we are talking about the Jewish Culture Festival. It's an annual event that takes place in various locations around the world. The Warsaw edition is already underway, kicking off last Saturday. It's an event that is both about preserving the memory of the rich Jewish heritage in Poland and about showcasing vibrant contemporary Jewish culture. So to tell us more about this event, I'm joined now by Dawid Szurmiej, the organizer of the festival. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us today on the Pulse of Culture.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm so glad that we can talk a little bit more about it because I think that it's a very worthwhile event for the people of Warsaw. I mean, the whole event originated in Warsaw. It's called the Isaac Bashevis Singer Festival of Jewish Culture. It's named after Nobel Prize winner Isaac Bashevis Singer, who was born in Poland, but then emigrated to the US, where he wrote in Yiddish about Poland. So it's a really interesting mix. And we started off in Poland as the 21st edition that's going to be happening here. The festival takes place in several Polish cities as well, where Singer was born. And now, why am I saying several where he was born? Because we're not sure where he was born.
Wow.
So we commemorate that in several cities. And there have been several editions in New York as well. And I strongly believe, and I hope that's the case, that the festival serves as, I guess, a bridge between Poland and the US in a way when it comes to the osmosis of Yiddish culture, because there was a point in time when Yiddish culture was based around Central Eastern Europe. And then a lot of people migrated to the US, and there was sort of a transfer that way. And then obviously because of the events of the Holocaust and then later of March 1968, most Jews left Poland. So that osmosis in a way is happening the other way around, and there was a big resurrection of Yiddish culture, and that's sort of Singer's Warsaw in a nutshell.
And so you say this is the 21st edition, so now it's been properly reborn, if you will.
I'd say so. I mean, I remember the first edition. It was still a rather big event. There were a lot of open air events, but there were I was still a kid, and there were only a few people who were organizing and scrambling all day to make it happen. And, you know, it's kind of like, wow, I'm going to be using a lot of Jewish analogies today, but it's like the miracle of Hanukkah, where there was enough oil to burn for one day, but it burned for 8 days. It's kind of the same situation. I don't think anybody thought that a Jewish culture festival is going to bring tens of thousands of people through the door, and it did on the very first day. We kind of thought, well, you know, maybe there's going to be a couple hundred people coming to a concert, maybe this, that. And then we realized that Jewish culture and Yiddish culture is an integral part of Polish culture. It's something that Poles believe and feel is part of their own heritage. So I think that's why they flocked. And, well, it's been around for 21 years, and hopefully it's growing, getting bigger, and there are over 100 events happening this year.
So how do you guys try and recreate the atmosphere and the feeling of the pre-war Jewish theaters, for instance?
So that's a really interesting question, because on one hand, we try to recreate the feel of a world that's long gone. But on the other hand, that world kind of survived through, there was an Oscar nominee, Ida Kaminska, who ran the Yiddish theater in Poland for years. Nobody knows there was a Polish actress nominated for an Oscar. And she was kind of she filled the gap so that culture never died. And now there are other people who have sort of taken the baton and ran with it. So on one hand, we're recreating. We have that traditional feel of klezmer music. We have somewhat traditional theater, but then we have something that's completely different and modern that was born on top of that. There's a show directed by Michał Walczak, the director of Warsaw's Rampa Theater, called Houdini, and obviously it tells the story of Houdini. It's a crazy drug-filled musical about magic and illusions. So I think that's the best thing about the festival, that on one hand there are a lot of traditional things, and on the other hand, so many things stem from there, and everybody will find something for themselves. So it's sort of a place for the whole family to gather together.
What can you say about the audience this year, for instance, in this year's edition? What does the makeup of the audience look like?
Really, I think that whole families come for the festival. On one hand, we have children coming for programs that are designed especially for them. On the other hand, we have young people coming out to concerts. There's going to be a concert by Lee Raz, who is an absolute top musician who's rather well known in the world music scene, mostly by 20, 30-year-olds. There's going to be Ara Malikian, who's a very famous violinist. He attracts the younger crowd and the somewhat older crowd. He blends Arabic music, Jewish music, klezmer music, Romani music, with a very over-the-top entourage. So there's something that attracts, I guess, everyone. There's something that's going to attract a younger demographic and something that will attract an older one. And it's not because we're trying to cater to everybody, but with a week long of events and over 100 events, we're simply trying to find the right balance so that everybody might find an event for themselves.
Now, what role is the festival now playing in preserving and promoting Jewish culture here in Poland?
I think the festival plays an integral role in that. I think Jewish culture, with regards to Polish culture, is a whole long conversation. It's a conversation about 1,000 years of mutual history, of beautiful history, of problems, of issues, of friendship, of hatred, of being neighbors, of being families. So again, I'm coming back to the point where I think that a lot of people have found that Jewish culture is a part of their own heritage, if not their genetic makeup, because a lot of people do genetic tests now. And I think that there's been a big resurrection in the interest, and where the festival comes in is it offers 100 events within a week. It's sort of a celebration of Jewish culture that you can find all year long. You can go to the Jewish Theater in Warsaw. You can go to the Polin Museum. You can go to the Center of Yiddish Culture, which has a lot of interesting events. But you can't promote it as well as you can promote one festival where we can all come together and organize it under one banner and do something that's big, that's a festivity, that's a festival, and that's, I guess, a happy holiday of Jewish culture.
Now, speaking of the Polin Museum, the history of Polish Jews, tell us a little bit about their program.
The Polin Museum has been an integral part of Zinger's Festival of Jewish Culture for years. I think that where they play a really important part is they provide the educational aspect of the entire festival. While by day what the Polin Museum does is immense. They have amazing exhibitions, they have meetings with artists, they have concerts. Here we don't do everything at the Polin Museum, but the Polin Museum is an integral and important part of the festival because they are the educational aspect where anybody who wants to learn a little bit more or go in depth into the things that they had seen at the festival, that's where they can turn. They can go to the Polin Museum.
The festival will conclude on September 1st with the performance taking place at the Grand Theater National Opera here in Warsaw. What is that spectacle going to look like?
So that is going to be a concert by Ara Malikian, a Lebanese-born violinist who blends a lot of cultures together. I really believe that he is what the world needs. He is a cross-cultural artist. He doesn't only blend the music, he lives between the cultures. He blends Arabic music, he blends Jewish klezmer music and Jewish contemporary music, Romani music, flamenco, and he makes a big spectacle out of it. It's a grand show. I mean, it's super energetic. Ara was here in 2018 with about 10,000 people at Plac Grzybowski during an open-air concert. We can't fit 10,000 people inside the Grand Theater, but I do hope, or I'm really keen to see what the energy is going to be like there, because I have a feeling that Ara can lift the rooftop of that magical place off the ground.
Yes, we can hear it right now. It definitely sounds fantastic. Well, what impact do you hope that the festival has both on the local community here and of course, all those international visitors that are able to visit and attend?
So I think for the people who live in Warsaw, the festival has become an integral part of the cultural events that take place. It's an integral part of being a Varsovian, I guess, in a way. I really hope it's something that people look forward to, because that's what I often hear, that it's something that's become ingrained in the local culture. But it's also really important because of all the people who come from abroad. Not only are there tourists who simply come to Warsaw during that time, there are people who actually come for the Zinger Festival. Because again, it offers a really wide array of music. It offers an array of theater shows, literature, meetings with people, and some of them are conducted in English, which is something very worthwhile to say here, that it doesn't only take place in Polish. There are a lot of events that are translated. There are also a lot of events that attract the international crowd. And I think it's become important because it's showcased that Poland is the home not only of Isaac Bashevis Singer, but so many artists like him who maybe would have been forgotten, but not only were they not forgotten because they're remembered at the festival and their work is remembered at the festival, but it also serves as a basis for the younger artists to build on that and come up with new performances for the festival itself.
Looking at this international makeup, can you put your finger on where some of the biggest crowds come from? Is it from Israel, from the United States, other places in Europe, or is it really just a mixed mash of?
I'd kind of say it's a mixed match of people who come, but most of them come from Europe or the US. I don't think there are that many Israelis coming because on one hand, it's diaspora Jewish culture. So it's more Yiddish culture than it would be, for instance, Israeli culture, which isn't exactly the same thing.
Right.
A lot of people from Europe come, a lot of people from Sweden, from Denmark, a lot of people from France, Belgium, the Francophone countries. I guess because Poland is not too far away, and because, again, it offers a whole week of fun. It offers an array of shows, and it's a week of very, very different genres. So I guess that's why they come. And then it does attract a crowd from the US. It's a bit of a longer flight to come in from, whether the East or the West Coast, or somewhere in between, but it's a bit of a flight. So I don't think we get as many guests arriving from the States, but I would still say that I can easily see at least tens of the same people coming in from the US each year. It's probably about 50, 60, 70 people. It is the same faces that we see, and they often come back with their families, with their friends, so that grows.
Okay, well, Dawid Szurmiej, organizer of the festival, Singers Warsaw Jewish Culture Festival. You can still see it. It's still going on, so time is high to get there and see these great festivities. Thank you very much for joining me on Pulse of Culture today. We appreciate it.
Again, thanks for having me.
And thank you all for joining us. And this was Pulse of Culture. And stay with us for more here on TVP World.